Mm.
I was so when I very first started recruiting, I was in sales. So I lived in Toronto. I actually worked for a financial advisor in Toronto. I moved back home to Halifax. And when I moved back home, I went to a staffing agency. I was like, I need to find a job. And they ultimately ended up hiring me to do business development for them. So I would go out and talk to the businesses and say, this is why you should use a staffing agency. This is how we do it. This is why we're different, all of those things. And then when the client or the business would say, yes, let's do it, it would be handed over to a recruiter.
Yeah.
So sales was always my background. And then the recruiter that I would give the work to, I don't remember if she went off because she was ill or if she was vacation, but there was a time where she was off for, I'm going to call it 2 months. And the salesperson in me was saying to my branch manager, if I'm bringing this business in and there's no recruiter to fill it, how am I getting paid? So you need to teach me how to find it. Like I've got that part down, but now you have to teach me how to recruit so I can fill the business as well. And then ultimately created that kind of a role that I was business development on one portion of the week or the month or whatever. And then as the roles came in, then I was finding the candidates for it. So it again was one of those things that evolved naturally. But once I got that part of it, I was like, oh, I really like this. Like it was matchmaking and putting the puzzles together and making those things make sense. So I knew that as I came into agency world. Then I went corporately and I was corporate longer than I was with agency world. But the beautiful part about that is knowing how both sides work and internal recruitment. So I'm an employee of X company and I only hire for that company versus external recruiter who is, I've got 10 companies that I'm hiring for. Knowing how both sides of that worked, I was like, what's the good in this one and what's the good in that one? And how do I bring them together? Which is how we ultimately came up with Fusion Group in that regard, right?
Ah,
Like we're going to
infusing
bring
with the
together.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also at the time, my dad was very integral in helping. My dad's an accountant. And so we co-founded the Fusion Group together. So again, it was bringing kind of father, daughter, semi-retired, but still doesn't feel like he wants to be retired. So he was doing kind of some of his own things and I'm helping look after the business. And we brought all of those things together and go, let's look at everything and what is really good. We're going to bring in like highlight and what's not so great or we would want to change. We're going to leave it to the side and figure it out later. And so that has allowed us to, I think, grow quickly. I think it's also allowed people who come to work with us and seeing that the model we're using with them, we use with ourselves has really gained credibility inside of that, which I think has made a huge difference in terms of there's a lot of staffing firms out there. There are a lot of staffing firms and 95%, because at the beginning, as I was planning what I was going to do, I couldn't promote that I was doing it because of the restrictions around
Yeah.
the severance package, which I've totally respected and stayed within the boundaries of that. But then, like you said, it blew up on LinkedIn because then I was out there going, okay, every day I could post, but I didn't go into it going, I need to have a marketing budget and I need someone who's going to help me do all these things. And to this day, 95% of our business is referral,
That's incredible. That's incredible.
right?
Yeah. And
It's
it's,
bananas to me.
I didn't actually know about your dad being involved. I don't know. That part of the story didn't stick out to me, but that it kind of,
Slightly on the
yeah.
sides, just from the fact that he's at a different stage of his career in
Yeah.
the sense of, but he was very instrumental in helping us to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? Brought some of the right people in to have those conversations and then be able to go back and say, okay, like we have a lot of accounting rules, for example, right now that we're hiring for, and he will review resumes if we need it. He'll give us insight if we need that.